So many guitarists get stuck playing the same pentatonic licks and solos over and over. I definitely did. And while the minor pentatonic scale gives us a reliable foundation for blues and rock, limiting yourself to just this scale leads to predictable solos and you start to sound the same. But in this lesson, I'll show you how to add some strategic notes from the Mixolydian mode, and you can instantly transform your playing from repetitive to more melodic and sophisticated. And the best part is that you still get to use your familiar pentatonic patterns while gaining the flexibility, sounding more expressive and a little more pro. Let's dig in. The minor pentatonic scale is the best scale to start with if you play rock and blues especially, because it just plain works. These 5 notes get straight to the point, but sometimes we need a little more. So let's add just 2 notes to the familiar pentatonic scale to give us some options. Let's start with A minor pentatonic in the 5th position. The notes we need are A, C, D, E, and G. And we can keep going another octave from this next A, C, D, E, and G, and then we finish on A. So this is really just 2 minor pentatonic scales in 2 octaves, just stacked neatly in one position. But it's really important to think about the scale in terms of intervals, and each note in the scale has a label for the interval, how far it is away from the root, in this case A. So our next note up the scale is C, and that's a minor third up from A, from the root. The next note is the 4th, the 5th, the flat 7th, and then of course we're back to the octave. And we're going to add 2 notes into this scale. The first one we're going to add is in between the root and the minor third. It's the major second. So we've really only got 2 spots where we can add that, here or here. And a major second has a full step above the root. So now we have root, major second, minor third, 4th, 5th, and now we're going to add our next note into the scale, which is the major 6th. So this one, we're going to move up to the 4th string and then drop back down a fret. So that gives us our major 6. I like to see this shape for the major 6, where it kind of looks like your G chord, but up a string with the index finger, right? That's our little shape there to help you visualize where it is. Then we come up to the flat 7 and then the root. So when we add these 2, just in this lower octave, we have, and if we keep going, and I'll call out the intervals as we do, we have root, major second, minor third, 4th, 5th, major 6, that's a new one, minor 7th, flat 7, and then the root. And this one is really useful, having that 6th in there. One way I like to visualize these 2 added notes is on the top 2 strings. Let's jump up to the root being here at the 5th fret on the 1st string. There's our major second, and there's our minor third. Well, then we have that same sequence of notes just dropping down to the 2nd string. So we have a lot of things that we can do right here with that same finger pattern out of this position of the scale. Let's take that quick pentatonic run from earlier and inject these 2 new notes. I'll play it quickly and then I'll slow things down so we can really hear and see these 2 notes in the lick. While we think of the minor pentatonic scale as a bluesy scale, adding these Mixolydian elements really stretch the scale into a more melodic sound, and it works really well in many styles, not just the blues. But we're going to put this to work in a folk rock jam in a bit. But first, let's take a look at one other note that we can borrow from Mixolydian. Let's start here from this A note on the 4th string, 7th fret. And let's just walk up through the scale, the minor pentatonic scale, but with those 2 additional notes. So that's the root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6, flat 7, and then the root. But we're going to add one more note that is crucially important to the blues, and it's right here in between this minor third and the fourth. So if we come up 1/2 step, 1 fret, from the minor third, we have the major third. And in the blues, we are constantly blurring the lines between minor and major. It's a big part of what makes the blues sound bluesy. So we need to know where that minor third is at all times. This is a good one to know. But anywhere you have that minor third, you can come up 1/2 step and use that major third. And it works in other positions. There's the minor third and major third move here. There it is in the lower strings. We can find it all over the place, but we're looking for, in the key of A, that C up to the C sharp. But importantly, know that you can use it as a tone to add to your minor pentatonic toolkit. Let's take a look at another version of our example lick from before, but this time we'll incorporate the minor third to major third move. The pentatonic scale gives us our foundation and these additional notes that give us new pathways and new colors. We're not replacing what works, we're enhancing it. But what do we do when we're soloing over a progression? Let's see how this stretch scale works with an example 2-chord progression, A and G. In A, that's the 1 and the flat 7 chord, and Mixolydian is all about that flat 7, so that makes this 2-chord progression perfect for building our Mixolydian chops. So we'll take it slow at first. We'll play 4 beats to 1 chord. Let me show you some good target notes before we hear an example. When we play our new scale, the minor pentatonic scale, plus major 2nd, major 6 over an A chord, notice that pretty much all of these notes work. They sound good. They have a certain sound and they feel like they fit over A. But when we move into G, some of that starts to break down a little bit. I'll just play a G chord and I'll bring out one of the notes that we might want to contend with. This C sharp. Now keep in mind, as this is kind of grabbing your ear and challenging your ear a little bit, that note is such a big feature of the A major. It's the major third, and it really sounds at home. It sounds sweet, and it sounds like it fits. But here, over G, it really sticks out. Now, maybe that's what you're going for, maybe not. If not, does that mean that this is just off limits? Not exactly. We can still use that note, but maybe use it as a passing tone. Don't really camp out on it, but use it on your way to something else. And we could say the same for the F sharp, right? That F sharp sounds really nice to embellish the A, but when we play it over G, that gives us a G major 7th sound, and that can be cool, but it might not be the floaty sound that you're after, right? It might sound a little too floaty. So what can we do? Same thing. We can just not camp out on it and just use it as a passing tone. But there are some notes that sound really good over G. Let's go back to A, and if we play this B, I'll play this one here on the 1st string. Sounds nice, but this has kind of that floaty sound to it a little bit. But if we play that B, and we'll play it in a lower octave, as we're playing over G, it sounds perfectly at home because it's in the chord. It can be a really sweet place to land your licks. When you move into G. Experimentation is key here. You learn a lot that way. So play over a track and think about the notes you want to use as passing tones or avoid altogether, and think about the ones that you really like, that you want to use to bring out the flavor of a chord. So let's hear an example. We've had some fun with some fast licks, but now I want to slow things down for this example. As I'm playing, think about the notes and how they sound over the chord, and really notice which notes I choose to linger on. when you follow the chords this way, your playing just naturally develops a more flowing melodic sound. You're not just playing the correct notes, you're playing the right notes at the right time, which is great. But sometimes the raw bluesy edge of the pentatonic is perfect, while other times that Mixolydian sweetness is just what we're looking for. Here's an example solo that starts out in Mixolydian and uses some really nice and melodic phrasing, but then the last part we wrap up with a bang with a quick pentatonic lick, just when it counts. We're creating some tension right before the progression changes altogether. Now, if you're a premium member, you're going to have access to the backing track and the full tab to the solo. Just look for lesson TB 485 in the library. Earlier, I showed you how adding 3 notes can transform your pentatonic playing. It really can, but the thing is, there's one thing above all that will take your jams to an entirely new level. So watch Tuesday Blues 418 next, where I break down this essential skill. I'll see you there. Until then, practice smart and play on.